Talktainment Radio, worldwide sound. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
This is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
Welcome to TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. And you are now listening to the greatest program in the known history of mankind. That is a personal opinion of mine. The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. If you are hearing this, you are blessed to be able to hear it, and hopefully you will be able to comprehend the suggestions that Mr. Fuller makes. And this is on TalkTainmentRadio.com radio, the way it should be heard. The phone lines are open, and I will give you the ways to communicate with getting in touch with the program. But first, let me do this, because I've had several people write and speak to me about how to get in contact with Talktainment Radio to support the second hour of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Fuller. First of all, thank you for your contributions and wanting to contribute to the second hour. That's good. I'm going to list the ways that you can do that. 4 ways. First way, you can do this by going to PayPal, and hit the Pay Now button. www.talktainmentradio.com/paynow.html. Okay, you can do it that way. Second way, mail in money order to K&E World Network, LLC, DBA, second line, Talktainment Radio, Post Office Box 6184, Columbus, Ohio, 43206. And another way you can do this by electronic check through your bank. K&E World Network, LLC, /DBA, Talktainment Radio. Then Ed Dozier, EDOZIER, 625 @gmail.com. Post Office Box 6184, Columbus, Ohio, 43206. And when you make these checks out, make the payments made payable to K&E World Network, LLC, DBA, Talktainment Radio. That's all you have to do. Now, the fourth way is go to the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage. I was just there. I looked at it. It's there. Then to the right side underneath Listen Now, you will see, go underneath it, the phone number, and underneath that is a yellow donate button, which you can hit. I've heard some reports that some people can't find it, and I went to the homepage, and it is there. But anyway, that's what you have to do. These are the 4 ways to do that. I will repeat this again in the second hour, which is the donate hour. You can get in contact with the show by calling 1-877-932-9766. You can also Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, @gmail.com. You can do this. You can see and hear the live broadcast of this program right now go to YouTube, type in the word Talktainment, hit the space bar and type in the word radio, scroll down to entertainment, scroll down to Talktainment number 2 live on YouTube and watch the live broadcast. And while you're there, hit the subscribe button and the like button, and you'll be all square. And, of course, the last way you can do this, if you want to hear yourself or hear the entire contents of the show, you may go to facebook.com/Talktainment, and you're all there. Okay. Got that all out the way. Good. Now, live on the line today is Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. from Washington, D.C. And the topic that has been selected today is if you do not understand. If you do not understand. That is important that you understand what you're doing. And it is in the forward section of the book right here, the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. And Mr. Fuller says, starts right off, if you do not understand, and then he identifies what it is: white supremacy, racism, what it is and how it works. Everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Mr. Fuller wrote that. If you do not understand, it's imperative that you understand what Mr. Fuller is suggesting, what's going on. If you don't, you're going to be in a world of confusion. Mr. Fuller, good morning, and how are you?
Good morning. I'm still learning.
You are still learning. That statement that you made, a most powerful statement, you start off by saying, if you do not understand. For those who are not familiar with the program or just coming on with the program, what do you mean by that, or the emphasis or the fuel behind that opening statement, if you do not understand?
Well, people are influenced. When I say people, I mean all of the people on the planet that we call Earth are under the influence of many, many things from one minute to the next. You're influenced by the weather. You look outside, you see it's snowing, so you say, well, I can't go out there with what I have on now. I just have on a light jacket. I'd better get a heavier coat because it's a blizzard out there. And I understand the temperature is of a sort that I'll freeze if I go out with this small jacket I have on. So I'd better get on a heavier coat and better put on some gloves. And because it's snowing, I'd better put on some boots rather than just some dress shoes. And so you're influenced by the weather. So all types of things influence you each and every day from all around you. But the greatest influence among the people of the planet here in the year 2018, and has been for some time, at least as long as I've been on the planet, and many people tell me even way, way, way before then, for hundreds of years, some people say a couple of thousand, I don't really know. But the influence of what I came to call, in capital letters, the system of white supremacy, which I say, as a suggestion, is racism. It's only one form of racism, and that is the system of white supremacy. And that is the greatest influence, the greatest political influence, educational influence, religious influence, any area of activity, economic influence, economics meaning the use of time and energy, according to a compensatory definition that I've given it, and the greatest influence. Influence how? On everything that people do. You are directly or indirectly influenced by people who believe in what? Who believe in mistreating people based on color. dominating and mistreating people based on color. That's what the system of white supremacy is. That's what racism is. That's all being a member of a race is good for. To look at the color of a person's skin, all right? Not necessarily the color of their hair or the color of their eyes. The color of the hair may change. I mean, people, all types of people start off with maybe red hair or brown hair or black hair. But as people get older, many people throughout the known universe, the hair turns gray. So that changes. But skin color usually sticks with a person for the time of that person's birth, or at least a little time afterwards. Sometimes it's a little, people are a little lighter sometimes when they're born, or they are darker and they get lighter. But basically, the skin color of a person stays the same throughout an entire existence. The white supremacists looked around for people who could be classified as non-white. And when you start talking about skin color, evidently they concluded, even though it may not make exact sense, that white is not a color. White is colorless, which is why they call people who have color colored people. So if people are called colored, being black, brown, red, yellow, tan, beige, or anything that's non-white, then that meant that, I guess, they've never fully explained this, that you say as a white person, is white a color when you start talking about people? White is a color when you talk about paint. Now, that's the way they usually use it. Oh, yes, if you go to the paint store to buy some paint, you say, I need some green paint, some blue paint, and some orange paint, and I need some of that white paint that's up there, because I'm going to paint my picket fence white, all right? So then white becomes a color. But when you talk about people, according to the white supremacists, it gets kind of confusing, which is what the white supremacists are real good at. That's one of their main things, confusing people. That's why that's in that opening statement. If you do not understand white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will confuse you. Why? Because that's the dominant influence among the people of what we call the planet Earth, right here in 2018, in April. It is the dominant influence. People think about what color somebody is more than anything. That's the first order of business. Before you start doing any kind of economic business, you start talking about economics, the use of time and energy, the movement of money, the movement of materials, and you say this is under the heading of economics, they say, wait a minute, how are people of color going to figure in this? And how are the colorless people going to figure in this? In other words, white, non-white. Well, get that straight before you start talking about anything about moving money around.
Yes.
Who is going to have the money? Who's going to control the value of money? Who's going to get up in the morning and say, well, this type of money is half the value that it was yesterday? And someone will say, well, why are you saying that? And if it's the white supremacists doing the talking, they'll say, because I can say it, and I'll back it up. I just told you people of color, people who are black, brown, red, and yellow, people that I have classified as being non-white, that this particular type of money, diamonds, rubies, or whatever paper money happens to be floating around, is half the value that it was yesterday. And why is it that way? Because I said so.
Yes.
Because I am what? Supreme over all of you non-white people not only in economics, but in education, in entertainment, in labor, in law, in politics, in religion, in sex, and in war. And if you think that I'm not, try me.
Yes. All right. Topic is, if you do not understand. That's the theme through the entire 2 hours. Let's go to the phone lines. Line number 1. What is your question for Mr. Fuller?
Hey, good morning. This is Joe Carter from Harlem. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead, Joe.
My question is to Mr. Fuller. What is your opinion about black people being on welfare?
Oh, black people are always on welfare. We're prisoners of war on welfare. What is welfare? Somebody else telling you what you're going to get, where you're going to go, how long you can stay there, what time to get up in the morning, what time to go to bed at night, just like in any prison. The non-white people, the people who are classified as non-white on what we call the planet Earth, are born prisoners of war. So far, we have been losing the war. We haven't lost the war because we haven't stopped fighting against it. You only lose a war after you stop fighting altogether, after you stop resisting. As long as you're squirming, trying to get out of the shackles, trying to get out from under it, trying to do harm to the system that is harming you, then the war isn't over. So we should continue that. The counter-war is called, because the war was started by the white supremacists when they made the decision to dominate and mistreat people based on nothing but you're the incorrect color. The incorrect color for what? The incorrect color to be treated correctly, to be treated justly. You're not entitled to justice if you have color in your skin. You're entitled to be whipped on every day, which is what we, even in the old days, we don't do so much of it now, we used to brag about it. Hold my magnolias, boy, while I whip my Negro. All right? The plantation master sitting up there rocking in a rocking chair. And say, send that boy up here. He needs a good whipping. All right? So they whip us. They whip us economically, educationally, all the 9 areas of activity. They still do that.
Yes.
So we're all on their welfare. See, we're not talking about this plantation slavery. We're talking about the system of white supremacy is a world slave system. If you are a person of color, you are a slave to the system of white supremacy, racism. And a slave, just by definition, is on what? Quote, unquote, welfare. If you look at what welfare is, we're on welfare. You can't help yourself. You're not in position to do anything for yourself. You got to get permission to do everything.
Yes.
Permission from whom? From the people who say that they are white supremacists and that they are supreme and that they run everything that you do, including the way that you think. All the shoes that you want to buy, they provide them. The clothes you put on your back, they provide them. If you want to charter a flight to go somewhere, they say, I have the aircraft. You don't have any.
Yep.
You don't manufacture anything except when I put a whip on your back and make you, all right, or let you, but you don't have anything of your own, and anything that you call your own really belongs to me.
Yes.
The white supremacists. Why? Because you belong to me. I don't belong to you.
Wow.
You don't even attempt to tell me what to do because you know better. That's not going to work. I always tell you what to do. Colored boy, colored girl, always. There's never a time that you tell me to do anything and I got to do it. You ask me, and ask me kindly, please take me to the hospital. Please save my grandmother. please keep these other black people from killing me here in the hood, which is what they do every day.
Every
and
day.
The white supremacist says, hey, I'm not going to keep them from killing you. That's why I gave them the guns to kill you. They're not going to bother me. They know better than that. So they're going to kill themselves and kill you. That's what you all do. Why? Because I train you that way. Just like I train my dogs.
Subject today, if you do not understand. That's our subject today. TalkTimeAtRadio.com is a 24/7, no-charge, worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news, lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, and politics. And here's one that I'm going to promote, and it is Talking Sports with Mr. Bobby, which premieres every other Tuesday here on TalkTimeAtRadio.com. And this Tuesday, April the 17th, coming up, we will have in the second hour, which we call Tell Me Something Good, Nikita Lowry Dawkins, the assistant women's basketball coach of the University of Minnesota. We will have her on as guest, but on May the 1st, we will have Greg Bell, confirmed, former Los Angeles Ram, Green Bay Packer. He will be on May the 15th. For those of you who love line dancing, we will have line dancing guru Trent Clark on, and he will entertain your questions and teach us some things about line dancing that you don't know about. And on the 29th of May, we will have former OSU quarterback Cornelius Green. I spoke with him the other day, confirmed he will be on. What we try to do is get people who are doing things positive in the community. So that's Talking Sports with Mr. Bobby, heard exclusively on TalkTimeAtRadio.com. That is radio the way it should be heard. As a matter of fact, when you go to the homepage and you're able to look at the programs that TalkTimeAtRadio.com has to offer, you will see bios and the dates and times that the programs are to be aired. So do that. And while you're there, hit that like button. Okay. You're listening to the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Today's subject is taken from the beginning of the book. If you do not understand what? Got to be in that question mode. Racism, what it is and how it works. What I like about what he said here is that everything else, not some things, but everything else that you understand will only confuse you if you do not understand racism. Let's go to the phone lines. What line am I on? Line number one. Line number one, you are on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Yes, hi. This is Reggie from Charlotte, North Carolina. Mr. Fuller, there are a lot of corporations that use racism in their advertising of their products and services. Sometimes very subliminal, a lot of times it's very overt, in your face. That's degrading and demeaning to black people. And in response, a lot of black folks, we respond in different ways, right? Some of us boycott, protest and march. Others go to social media. A lot of people just stop using their products and services. And a lot of people just don't do anything. My question to you, Mr. Fuller, should we as black people boycott these corporations in these instances? And if so, what is the most effective way of boycotting? Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Fuller?
Well, my brief answer is I don't know, because I don't know how effective a boycott would be, until the boycott is actually done. But keep in mind, the system of white supremacy is a total system. Nothing is outside of the system of white supremacy. Keep this in mind. That's what supreme means. There's no such thing as something being outside. of the system of white supremacy if you are a person of color. You are in a prison. You're not outside the prison. There's no such thing as outside the prison, because the prison is the entire planet. If you're on the planet and you're a person of color, you're in the prison system of the system of white supremacy. That's the name of the prison. The entire planet is a prison if you are a person with color in your skin. And you are in the prison. You were born in the prison. It's not your fault. You can't help where you were born, but that's the fact. That is the truth. Or maybe it isn't the truth, but that's what I'm saying is the truth. Because I don't know of any place that a person of color can go, a person classified as black, can go anywhere on this planet that the white supremacists won't be sitting there when you get there saying, what are you doing on my land without my permission? And you say, oh, what land? I just left the land that you call yours, and so I'm, that's why I left, and so I'm here. They said, and the white supremacists say, well, you're looking at me. I'm here too. So what are you talking about? You just left some land. That land that you left belongs to me. And you say, yeah, that's why I left, because I wanted to be some land where some land is that doesn't belong to you. You say, well, you're looking at me. I'm on this land. There's no place I haven't been, fella. You don't understand white supremacy. We're supreme over everything. There's an inch of this place called Earth that we don't dominate. I don't care if you see white people there or not. We dominate them because we can blow up anybody from anywhere. We have mapped every inch of this thing called the planet Earth that's worth mapping, all right? And in the places, the 2 or 3 inches that we didn't map is because we didn't feel that we have to, but we can do it anytime we want to. So you can't go any place that doesn't belong to me. And you belong to me, regardless of where you go. So let's talk about the boycott. So when you call yourself inside the prison, you're going to boycott the warden by doing what? Well, we ain't going to use the warden's cafeteria. Okay, well, where are you going to get your food? All right. Now you're inside a prison now. We're not going. They don't. The warden got bad food in the cafeteria. He's feeding us a bunch of garbage. So we're going to boycott the cafeteria. All right. Well, what are you going to do? Well, we're going to have money. We're going to have food smuggled in. All right. Oh, okay. Now, who are you going to contact to have it smuggled in? So it's going to be the warden's brother. Like I said, when you say white supremacy, you're talking about somebody who controls everything. There's no such thing as being outside the prison. See, keep that in mind. So when you boycott one so-called company, all that person does, who runs the company, who will directly and indirectly be a white supremacist. I'm not saying that all white people are white supremacists in the system of white supremacy, but those who are not white supremacists don't have as much say-so as those who do. Keep that in mind, okay? So that means the white supremacists have more say-so among the white people than the white people who don't say they don't believe in white supremacy. Oh, yeah, they'll kick up a fuss and all like that. But the white supremacists just say, yeah, you're white just like me. But what I say goes more than what you say. Otherwise, white supremacy wouldn't exist. See, if you just do the math, what I call social math or political math, it makes sense. It's logical. Always follow the logic. And that is, if the white people who don't believe in white supremacy were more powerful than the white people who do believe in white supremacy, what does that mean automatically? White supremacy wouldn't exist. And we wouldn't be having this conversation because there'd be no such thing as racism. So you can boycott one thing, but remember, that person that you're boycotting, all they're going to do is call down the street to the place where you're going to get your bread, if you're boycotting a bread company, and say, well, they're going to be down there to get bread. So we own that too. So it doesn't make any difference.
Okay. Talk to him at radio.com. We go where you go. Check us out on 94.1 WGRN. Podcasts are available. Download the Talk to him at radio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio, the way it should be heard. Stay there. There's more to come on today's show of If You Don't Understand.
For the best home fragrance and beauty products, shop Ash Cookin online.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Made with 100% natural quality ingredients and handcrafted with your family in mind, Ash Cookin products are better than those other guys. Ash Cookin candles, incense, body butter, face moisturizer, and hair moisturizer are priced just right, and you can get yours at 10% off with coupon code TALK17. Support this 100% black-owned business and get your home and body smelling and feeling all right.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Shop Ash Cookin online at www.ashkickin.com.
Are you ready for a high school that allows you to work at a place that is right for you? Are you ready to earn a certification in healthcare, business, or manufacturing while achieving your high school diploma? Then you are ready for Life Skills High School, a free public school option for high school students 16 to 21 years old. Learn more about your free high school educational options at lifeskillshs.org or call them at 1-800-888-7992. Life Skills High School, education that fits your life.
Robe is an intriguing, riveting, mysterious novel written on forgiveness by Renee Smith. Order your copy today at Barnes & Noble and Amazon.com. That's The Robe by Renee Smith.
Every year, June marks the beginning of two busy seasons, summer and wedding season. If you are legally changing your name, you need to apply for a replacement Social Security card reflecting your new name. This is easier to fix now when you first change your name than years from now when you retire. So go to our website at www.socialsecurity.gov/SS number or call us at 1-800-772-1213, TTY 1-800-325-0778 to find out what specific documents you need to change your name and apply for a replacement card.
If you or someone you know is abusing drugs and or alcohol and want to stop the abuse, contact APDS at 1409 East Livingston Avenue. Office hours are 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily and 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. APDS is certified by the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and primarily funded through the Adam H. Board. Fees are based on your income and Medicaid is always accepted. For more information, call 614-253-4448.
This is Al Edmondson, owner of a Cutter Brother Rest Barbershop. I'm calling on all barbers and beauticians. It's time for us to unite as one. We can serve our communities better together. Join the Ohio Black Barber Beauty Network. For more information, visit www.obbn.org or call 614-427-3226 to get more information. Be the change that you want to see in your community. Join our network.
I've got the water, energy bars, and camera. I think we're set for the hike.
Almost. We need to protect our skin. Don't forget your wide-brimmed hat and sunscreen.
All right. I've got the hat. I've got SPF 30. Will that work?
Yeah, anything 15 or higher is good. Just make sure it says broad spectrum.
Great. Got it. I am not getting burned again. Let's go.
Learn more at cdc.gov/cancer.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTimidRadio.com.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Go ahead. Make my day.
You got the power.
TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTainmentRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. I am Mr. Bobby, and I am the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. And in my opinion, you are listening to the world's greatest program. You're blessed. We're blessed to be listening, and I'm blessed to be hosting it on the world's greatest radio. That is TalkTainmentRadio.com. That is radio the way it should be heard. Today's subject is very important. It is entitled, If You Do Not Understand. And if you're in the question mode, what? Understand what? White supremacy, which is racism. What it is and how it works. Everything else that you understand will only confuse you. And it seems to me that we are operating in a state of confusion. Mr. Fuller is here live from Washington, D.C. to answer your questions. And that last question about boycotting, sir, you may want to start with finding out what boycott really means. Charles Cunningham Boycott was the gentleman's name that boycott was named after. Find out what was he boycotting or what was he resisting against, and then go on. And that way you'll have a base for the different things that you want to do. 1-877-932-9766 is the number that you can call to get in contact with today's program. You can also Gmail me at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, @gmail.com. And I'll try to get to your Gmails. You can watch the live broadcast of the Compensatory Concept. Go to YouTube, type in the word Talktainment, hit the space bar and type in the word radio, scroll down to Talktainment number 2 live on YouTube, and watch the live broadcast. While you're there, hit the subscribe and like button. And finally, you can go to facebook.com/Talktainment, and you can hear the entire replay of the program. You can do that. Going to the Gmails, this comes from a brother in England, Mr. Fuller. He said that he recently listened to a program on another station, and there was a book called The Turner Diaries, and he came away with two things on that from that broadcast. White supremacists from now on will no longer call themselves racist or white supremacists, but will use codified words such as white nationalist, white advocate, and race realist in order to communicate with other non-racist members of the white family. I have even heard the suspected white supremacist Jared Taylor say that he does not know what the term means and it should be outlawed. Secondly, there appears to be a constant undercurrent in the white family, and that is the disgruntled low-level white supremacist who is never satisfied with how the system is being run and is always blaming everything in the world on the Jews. Mr. Fuller, I would appreciate your counter-racist views on the use of codified words by white supremacists under the refinement phase of white supremacy, and your views about how the disgruntled behavior of the lower white-level white supremacists under the refinement phase of white supremacy, especially in light of the recent shootings and bombings in America be. Your kind regards, Mr. McKeon from England.
Oh, what are the white? I guess that's a long, long question. I mean, so I'll try to decipher it.
Okay, do the best you can.
If I understand what the question is, the refinement stage of white supremacy, that's the fourth stage, which is what they're trying to keep it in. The refinement stage just means they have refined the confusion. They thrive off of confusion. The white supremacists, that's the mortar. That's the cement that holds the system of white supremacy together. Confusion. That's why that word is in that first opening statement. If you do not understand white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will confuse you. So they're always trying to think up ways to keep their victims confused, because the confused person will always be dominated by a person who is not confused. That's just the law of the universe. So the white supremacists always say, how can we, for the next 10 years, keep these black people confused about everything? All right? What's going to be our plan for the next 10 years? Things they're not very confused about. They are beginning to deconfuse themselves. I mean, some of the things that we're saying to them is not working. They can see through it, you know. So how can we keep it going? So they go to the drawing board and say, well, we'll do this, and we'll do that, and we'll do the other. And then they'll make trial runs, just like you do on any experiment, and see if that works in confusing black people a little more than they did yesterday. And they constantly work at this. They never stop. They never stop with newer and better ways of keeping black people confused, all right? Because they know that that law of the universe, a confused person will always be dominated by a person who is not confused. That's just a simple law. Anybody can do it. I mean, you know, the person who can confuse everybody else is always going to be the smartest person among that whomever that somebody else is. That's what being smart means. So, you know, when it comes to domination, just confuse people.
Yes.
And you got them, all right? Keep them confused, because what? If they're confused, that means, and they figure that there's somebody somewhere who's not confused, they're going to come to that somebody all the time, even if they don't like you. They're going to go to the person who is not confused, because they are confused. And people do not like confusion. The mind cannot stand confusion. So you want to be deconfused. So if there's anybody, I mean, down on the next corner, anybody, well, let's go down here and talk to Mr. So-and-so, Mr. Hatfield, or even if the person is black, I mean, you know, and that's the least confused person on the block, everybody goes to that person and knock on their door. Say, look, I'm confused. Straighten me out here. I mean, I don't know what to do. That's what that means. Being confused means you don't know what to do. You know, you're in a situation where everything is, you know, just going in this direction and that direction, and nothing is satisfying you. Well, why? Because you don't know the answers to questions. That's what confusion is. So the person who can answer the question say, oh, I know what the answer to that question is. I can straighten this out in the next 10 minutes. So give me the details. Now, everybody calms down right after that. Right after that person, that one person who is not confused. Why? That person knows what to do, what to say, where to go, all of this. All right? Then that's when you can see it every day in an office building, on a warehouse, wherever you work. The person who is least confused, that's the person that everybody runs down the hall trying to catch up with. Why? Because that person is not confused. That person knows what's going on and why. That person has information that the other people don't have, and understands the information that he or she has. That eliminates what? Confusion.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get back to the point. I mean, did I lose the point?
No, you're still on it.
Right. In the refinement stage of white supremacy, all the white supremacists are trying to do, in one form or another, keep these people confused, keep these animals confused. A sheep herder, keep the sheep confused so that the sheep don't know what to do unless you're out there leading them. If you're going to round up a bunch of cattle, keep them confused. They're wandering all over the place. I mean, you know, bumping into fences, and they're letting out a whole lot of yells and whatnot, and they're bumping into each other, and they're getting into cattle fights. I mean, you know, the cattle, I mean, you know, are just stepping on each other's feet and all like that. But the cowboy comes around and cracks that whip and say, hi-ya, you know, and it's what you call the roundup. See, round them up and point them in the direction that you want them to go.
Yeah.
And then they all just, you know, fall in line and go the way that you want them to go. The cowboy's not confused, all right? But the cattle are confused. So they go whichever way the whip tells them to go.
Yes, sir.
The person on that horse, all right? And, you know, the dog's barking at them, I mean, leading them this way and leading them that way, they just go. Black people are the same way in the system of white supremacy. All right, why? Because they keep us confused, that's why.
Yes. All righty. TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTainmentRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. I am Mr. Bobby. I am blessed to be the co-host on the world's greatest program on the world's greatest radio, TalkTainmentRadio.com. You can get in contact with this show by calling 1-877-932-9766. You can Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, at gmail.com. You can go to the YouTube channel and catch the live broadcast of the compensatory concept. All you have to do is type in the word Talktainment, hit the space bar, type in the word radio, scroll down to entertainment number 2 live on YouTube, and watch the program live. While you're there, hit the subscribe and like button. And finally, you can hear the entire program by going to facebook.com/Talktainment, and you can hear the entire program. Now, this is important. Listen up, especially for those who have written in and wanted questions. Mr. Fuller is getting ready to talk about his book, where you can get it, who it is addressed to. All that information is right here. Mr. Fuller, go ahead. This is your time to speak about the book.
Right. You can go to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com. That's all you need to do. And what will come up on the screen is a brief description of the basic textbook, the revised expanded edition of the 1984 edition that came out in 2016. This is the revised expanded edition. Now, that doesn't make the 1984 edition obsolete. It's not obsolete. Those who have that book, you can still hold on to it because the system of racism has been working the same all this time. It hasn't been modified that much, but it's just a little more things in the revised expanded edition. Expanded just means there's more material in there, but it's the same basic material that's in the first book. So if you have the 1984 edition, that's fine. Just hold on to that. That's not obsolete because the system of white supremacy hasn't gone out of business. It's still the same system. They still use the same principles. But there's just a little more things about what to do about it as an individual person in the revised expanded edition, because in both books are addressed to the individual person. That's why I call it the compensatory code. Meaning what? It's a way of doing things each and every day that an individual can do without having to check with anybody. You don't have to go to a leader. You don't have to check with Neely Fuller or anybody else. You follow the logic that came with the universe. Because if you're following a so-called leader, regardless of who that leader is, if that leader is making any kind of sense, that leader is following what? Logic.
Logic.
Because whatever created the universe also created principles like cause and effect. 1 and 1 is 2. 1 and 1 is 2 for everybody. Fire will burn for everybody. Fire doesn't care who you are or who you are not. Fire is going to do what fire is going to do. Whatever created fire understands and has made the fire understand that fire is going to do what fire will do. So if you understand the principles of how fire operates, that if you don't want the house to burn down, you don't put any paper or stacks of newspaper anywhere near that candle that you got burning, all right? Or set the candle up on top of the newspapers and light it and go downtown shopping. Because your logic tells you what? That candle is going to burn down and is going to set that stack of newspapers on fire.
Yes, sir.
And that's going to set the house on fire. Duh. All right? See, so follow the logic that you see in the universe. Don't follow people.
Okay.
I'll tell you why. People make mistakes.
Yes.
Neely Fuller makes mistakes. So counter-racist codification is about avoiding making mistakes.
Okay.
And always doing the thing that will work. Even if Neely Fuller writes something and Neely Fuller writes something that may not work. And if you try it and it doesn't work, then you let Neely Fuller know because he wants to know. All right? Because he's what? Still learning.
Still learning, yes, sir.
Everybody who is logical should be in a I'm still learning mode.
Yes, sir.
Why? Because there are more things that you don't know than things that you do know. I don't care how smart you are.
Okay. Now, I was asked, and then we're going to move on here. I was asked, is the book available in Canada, Mexico, Europe, and South Africa? And then a question was asked concerning books on tapes, and I think you addressed that last week. Quickly, could you address that?
Nowhere but England overseas right now, and trying to get it back on course in Canada, which we had that first.
So you can't get it in Canada right now?
Right now, so
Okay.
I've been told, but they say they are feverishly working on it. I don't know what the problem is there, but I'm getting back to the people that's supposed to be handling
Okay,
that.
what about the UK?
I mean, because Canada is not very far away.
Okay.
Now, other places, no, except London, or places like that, England rather.
You can get it there?
You can get it in England.
Wow, okay.
By going to producejustice.com.
Okay.
That's what I've been told. No problem with the English ship.
Good. Now, what about books on tape? I know you addressed that last
Any place
week.
else overseas right now, but before the year is out, I've been told we'll try to get it every place all over the world.
Okay.
All right, before this year is out.
And
it's 2018.
Okay, and as far as getting the books on tape, which a lot of people want, but I think you explained that last week.
No, that's why I'm not on Facebook and all that, because I'm de-emphasizing the cult of personality. We've got to get away from this thing of Neely Fuller as some kind of leader. Neely Fuller is just a spokesperson for, hopefully, logic. I'm trying to get everyone to tap into logic. Like I sometimes use the character in Casablanca, the movie Casablanca, a real old movie that's kind of boring, really, to most people. But he's an individual.
Okay.
With everything against him. I wrote my book for the individual person who nobody will speak up for. In other words, you look around, you got nobody will help you.
Okay.
You don't have gang members, you don't have anybody. You're always alone. You're always alone. So I wrote a book for the person who's always alone. You got to figure out everything for yourself every day.
Every day. Okay.
Black people around you are not going to help you do nothing. That's the position you should take, all right, on the job and everywhere else.
Okay.
They're not going to back you up on nothing. You are alone, okay? So I wrote a book for the person who is 100% alone. And how do you function when you're 100% alone and all you got is yourself and whatever the Creator helps you do?
All righty. Produced
through what? Through logic.
Okay. Producejustice.com. That'll take care of the right there.
Right.
Okay. Now, this comes from the Gmails. This comes from Brother Palmer. He says this, Mr. Fuller, most non-white people don't know they are living in a global prison system designed specifically for them. Why is white supremacy weakened by wickedness when it continues to thrive?
Oh, wickedness has always thrived. I mean, poison can be very strong. The system of white supremacy is a poisonous system. Very poisonous. Lethal. All right? Wipes out people. I mean, distorts people, messes people up, makes zombies out of people, the walking dead. That's what the system of white supremacy does. It's extremely powerful. All right? And it's wicked, okay, and it is supreme. It's got a bigger grip on the minds of the people of this planet than any other system ever invented in the minds of people. No religion is more powerful than the religion of white supremacy, and that's been proven over and over again. And no political system. I don't, people talk about capitalism, socialism, communism. The white supremacists are superior to all of that. Why? Because they are all of that. The white supremacists are the most powerful capitalists that the world has ever seen. They're the most powerful communists. They have more in common with each other than the world has ever seen. Just think of the word communism. It just means in common. That's all. You have in common with another person. The white supremacists have more in common with each other than they have with anybody. And they don't need to be in common with anybody else other than themselves. And that has made them extremely the most powerful communists and the most powerful capitalists and the most powerful socialists. They socialize with each other in such a way that they are more powerful than everybody else who socializes with themselves. Black people socialize, but their socializing doesn't mean nothing compared to the socializing that the white supremacists do. See, when you pay attention to words and what they really mean, and that's why you have a word guide.
Yes, sir.
Also in the textbook, I explain what a lot of words mean and what words to look for. See, we get all tied up in knots about what is socialism, what is communism, what is capitalism. Should you be for it or against it and whatnot? And the white supremacists say, hey, I don't care if you're for it, against it, or whatever. If you're a person of color, you come under me. I don't care what you call yourself. And I don't care what religion you call yourself. You come under me. And if you don't believe it, try me. I mean, like 5 minutes I can tell you. And in 6 minutes I can show you. Okay? And every non-white person on the planet understands that. All right? Now, we argue with ourselves about whether the white supremacists exist or not. But when the white supremacists come around, I notice nobody argues with them about whether there is such a thing as white supremacy. I've seen that put to a test over and over again. Black people argue themselves. Fuller, that white supremacy ain't nothing to that, man. You talking all that garbage and whatnot. Man, you've been so brainwashed. I mean, you one of them old back-of-the-bus Negroes from way back. Man, you can't keep up with the times. I mean, ain't no such thing as that. And then one white supremacist will show up, and the whole atmosphere changes.
Yeah. Okay. So what,
I know everybody has noticed that.
Yes, they have. What if? And I've heard this said that a suspected white supremacist said that there is black racism. I didn't understand that.
Sure. The whites. Now let's nail this down right quick. The white supremacists will say anything.
Okay.
See what I mean? That's part of their deception. And I'm not going to name any names, but one very, people who say that he's a white supremacist who is now in a very, very prominent position. What is he kind of known for, according to what people say in the news every day? They say he'll say anything.
Okay, I know you're talking about, yeah.
I'm not going to mention no names.
I got you.
Because, but I think you can figure it out.
Yes, sir.
I mean, but if a person is a white supremacist will say anything. And when they're saying that, they look over their shoulder at the other white supremacists, and they both wink at each other.
They wink.
Yeah, they wink at each other, and they say, these black people, they think that we got certain things that we won't say. We'll say anything that will work.
Yeah. Well, here's the sad thing, though. A couple of black people agreed with that white dude saying that they're a black racist. And
Sure. That's what I mean. That's the magic of being able to have power and to be able to say anything and have people nod, because you're already in power. They know that. So when you say something, they say that whatever you say must be right on point.
Okay.
I mean, in other words, the white supremacists are the greatest truth tellers on the planet.
Okay.
Why? Because they know more about the truth. The truth is just that which is than anybody.
All right. Got to leave it there
and they are the greatest people when it comes to lying.
Okay. Got to leave it there for the first hour. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for the second hour.
You got the power. The world's greatest radio. Talktainmentradio.com. Talktainment Radio, worldwide sound. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. the world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTameItRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTameItRadio.com.
This is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTameItRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
All righty. Welcome to TalkTameItRadio.com. This is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. This is the second hour, the donation hour, the one that you sponsored. I've received several letters and even a couple of phone calls about how to get in contact with the show. Primarily, you can do it by going to the TalkTameItRadio.com homepage. And on the homepage, you'll see Listen Live. Underneath that, there's a phone number. And underneath the phone number, there is a yellow donate button. You can hit that and donate any amount of money that you want to donate. Okay, but for those who find that difficult, and believe me, there are those that do, here are a couple of ways that you can do that. You can go to PayPal, Pay Now button, www.talktamitradio.com/Pay Now, HTML. You can also mail in money orders. By the way, I was told no personal checks. Let me repeat that. No personal checks. Anyway, you can mail in a money order, K&E World Network, LLC, DBA, Talk Tame It Radio, Post Office Box 6184, Columbus, Ohio, 43206. You can do an electronic check through your bank. Again, K&E World Network, LLC, /DBA, Talk Tame It Radio, E. Dozier, 625 at gmail.com, Post Office Box 6184, Columbus, Ohio, 43206. Make sure that on your check you have K&E World Network, LLC, DBA, Talk Tame It Radio, and it will get to where it's supposed to get to. Okay, 1-877-932-9766 is the number that you can now call. We are discussing the phrase, or our topic today is, if you do not understand. It was brought or suggested that that be the topic because there was an argument or a discussion, which almost turned into an argument about can a black person be a racist? And without arguing, I said no, but that let me know that the person who, and I gave them the reason why, the person who was saying this did not understand the forward of this book. If you do not understand what? Racism, which is white supremacy. If you don't understand that, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. I don't think they understood that. And then I gave the quote. It wasn't my quote. It was a quote from Neely Fuller. I wasn't taking credit for it, but I understand. I embrace that, and that's what we are talking about today. 1-877-932-9766 is the number that you can call. You can also Gmail me at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby at gmail.com. You can also go to the YouTube channel, type in Talktainment, hit the space bar and type in the word radio. Scroll down to Talktainment number 2 live on YouTube, where you can watch the live broadcast of it. While you are there, hit the like button and subscribe button. And also, if you want to hear the show in its entirety, you can go to facebook.com/Talktainment and you can hear the entire show. Okay, from the Gmails, let's do this. This comes from Brother Adams. He says, Mr. Fuller explained the relationship black men should have with black women in his compensatory code, Area 8, Sex, pages 282 to 283. Black men have never protected black women in this country, so they have no right to demand obedience from them. In case of any conflict, all a black woman has ever had to do is to, quote, run and fess massa, end of quote. Then break out the popcorn. Also, you were discussing the Oregon latch law before the Civil War. The state of Ohio prohibited free blacks from settling in the state. Mr. Fuller, do you think that the recent commercialization use of DNA to determine ancestry will be used to categorize blacks like the Nazis used to categorize Jews for extermination camps?
There is a passage in the code book that covers a lot of that type of question, and it is this, and it will fit. To the extent that a white supremacist has anything to do with it, and that includes tracing ancestry and anything like that, if a white supremacist has anything to do with that, tracing ancestry, just one white supremacist, if they have anything to do with it, it is to make the system of white supremacists stronger. And you must assume, you have a duty to assume that anything that has to do with black people, the white supremacists have some influence in there. So to the extent that a white supremacist has anything to do with tracking down the ancestry of anybody, if they have anything to do with it, it's to make the system of white supremacy stronger. I don't care how they do it. You may not be able to figure out, well, how would they do that? How would they go about doing that? They have figured out a way to do it because they don't do anything. The white supremacists do not do anything. I'm going to repeat that over and over again. They don't do anything that's not designed to make the system of white supremacy stronger than it already is in each and every area of activity, or in one of the areas of activity, which indirectly will make the other areas of activity stronger too. And these areas of activity are economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. I hear some distortions in the background.
Okay. Okay. All right, go ahead, Mr. Fuller.
Yes. And so anything that a white supremacist has anything to do with, that's all you got to find out. Is this, do some white people who may be white supremacists have anything to do with this ancestry thing and researching it and digging up information and putting it out here? Are they directly or indirectly involved any kind of way? Then you immediately, according to the code, are supposed to suspect, oh, this is just another thing to make white supremacists stronger. May not be able to detect it right now, but see, they think long range.
Yeah.
The white supremacists, I mean, they will do things that on the surface it looks like it's real innocent, you know, above board, you might say, and harmless. They don't do anything that's not going to make the system of white supremacists stronger. That's why they stay strong.
That's why they stay strong.
Okay. Yes, that's why they are supreme.
Okay.
That's why they are the smartest and most powerful people on the planet.
All right.
And everybody else eating out of their hand.
Yeah. Okay, Walter Ware, Betty Smith, Noreen Parker, Mario Turan, Brian Goodspeed, Robert Slade, Yvonne Holly, some of the members who donate to the compensatory concept in the second hour. We're going to go to the phone lines, line number one. Okay, line number one, you're on with Mr. Fuller.
Hey, brothers, how you guys doing?
Good,
my question was this. I've heard people say that, like, Mr. Trump is the most racist president that we've ever had, but logically wouldn't it make sense that each president, well, probably the one who even started with George Washington would have been the most racist one because they started under creating white supremacy? Logically, wouldn't that make sense? Or have all of them pretty much been the same?
According to the code, to keep from doing a whole lot of head scratching, because I don't know how many cartoons I've seen down through the ages of the Negro scratching his head with his eyes bucked, which means what? Can't figure nothing out. So the code is designed to go right to the jugular vein on everything. The code is supposed to be a slam dunk. So the slam dunk is this, and I'm going to repeat it over and over again, and I hope it takes root, because it's either true or false, but I say it's true, and I say it's logical, but that's just me talking. But here's the suggestion, the codified suggestion, so we can get out of the head-scratching thing on a daily basis. It'll always be in place. Here it is. In the system of white supremacy, any person classified as white who is able to be a white supremacist probably is one, unquote. And you don't deviate from that, not for 2 seconds. If the white person, now there might be a lot of white people who are not racist. You know, I'm convinced, absolutely, that there are some white people who are not racist.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because a newborn baby, you know, who is white, he's white, or she is white. Is that a racist? Not logically speaking. Why? You have to know your colors to be a racist. You have to know the difference between one color and another.
Yes.
So in the system of white supremacy, since I don't have a master list, and I don't know of anybody who does have a master list of who is and who is not among the white people or racists, then you have to do what? You have to do like any detective does. I suspect that any person who is able to be that type of criminal is suspected of being one. So you are automatically duty bound, according to what? Logic. To suspect any white person who is able to be a white supremacist as being a white supremacist. Until what? Until he or she proves to you as an individual, not to somebody else, not to somebody down the street, not next to your next door neighbor or your cousin or somebody who's a white person who is so-called married in the family. Oh, no. That person is on the suspect list if the person is white and who is able to know one color from another. You're duty bound to suspect that that white person maybe is most likely a racist. Until what? Until proven different. And that's not harsh, because as a prisoner of war, in a war against racism, and that's what we're all supposed to be against, and we haven't identified who is and who isn't a racist, I mean, beyond all doubt, all reasonable doubt, you don't have an identity list, then you have to, just like in any murder case, and the white supremacist system is a murder case. They murder people all over the world every minute of the day, all right? So who are these murderers? Nobody's telling you. So you have to suspect that anybody who is able to be one in that category may be one.
Yes, the logic suggests
Until
that.
What? It's a logical way to think.
Yes.
It's not a harsh way to think. It's just a logical way to
logic
think.
suggests
How can you think any other way in
Right.
a system, in a war? I mean, you know, you see somebody wearing the uniform of the enemy. Now, that person may have just scrounged that uniform. They were naked. They didn't have anything to wear. So they grabbed the uniform, and now they're coming toward your lines. But you look at that person with what? Suspicion.
Suspicion.
You say, hold it, right there. Don't go no further. Stand right there, all right? And you search that person. You check that person out thoroughly. And the person will say, oh, I'm a friend. I'm not a foe, but I'm wearing the uniform of the enemy. Say, yeah, that's why I stopped you.
Yeah.
And I can't let you go no further until I check you out thoroughly, all right, as an individual. Say, well, I got these other people here to vouch for me. No, that won't work. You know, they might be working with you. We don't know who any of you are. We have to check you out as individuals.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean thoroughly over a period of time. But we will still suspect you of being a racist until when? Until racism no longer exists.
Okay.
That's when.
All righty. Let's do this. Patrick Smith, Gene Luma, Julius Myers, Robert Wade, Alexandria Brown Pitts, Carolyn Jackson, and Hugh Haywood are all past supporters of the second hour of the compensatory concept with Neely Fuller Jr. We want you to participate and donate. Just go to the TalkTameItRadio.com homepage where you see Listen Live, scroll down, and you see a phone number. Just scroll down past the phone number, and there is a yellow donate button. Hit that donate button and donate any amount that you want to. And all donations, whether by this or by the other means that I mentioned, are tax deductible. Now, TalkTameItRadio.com is a 24/7 no-charge worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news, lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, and politics. Now, here's a show, my show, that I'd like to share with you, and it is Talking Sports with Mr. Bobby, and it is this coming Tuesday, April the 17th. We will have Nikki Lowry Dawkins. She is the assistant women's basketball coach at the University of Minnesota, the Golden Gophers. She will be our guest in the segment that we have entitled Tell Me Something Good, Shaka Khan, with the lead on. She will be there to tell us what's happening in Minnesota basketball or women's recruitment or any other thing that she decides or wants to talk about. All that is exclusive to TalkTameItRadio.com, and that premieres Tuesday, this 17th of April, on TalkTameItRadio.com. That is radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., the greatest show in the history of radio, in my opinion, because you have the opportunity to listen to it live, hear it again, and speak with Mr. Fuller and have Mr. Fuller make his suggestions. If you'd like to get in contact with the show, you can do so by calling 1-877-932-9766, and you can get in contact with the show. From the Gmails, we have this, Mr. Fuller. Says, hello, Mr. Fuller. I have a couple of questions for you. Number one, what do you say if a person, black or white, says to you, how do you know there's a thing called white supremacy? Where is your evidence?
Oh, how do I know there's a thing called white supremacy?
Yeah, that was the question. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just, based on observation and experience, and I say this on the back of the book, my experiences, my observations, everything I've read, everything I've heard, everything I've seen, people that I've talked to, who have traveled all over the world and whatnot, I came to the conclusion that there is such a thing as white supremacy. And I say to people who say there is no such thing, and a lot of black people say there is no such thing, I say, okay, no problem. That's why I call it the United Independent System. It means if white supremacy doesn't exist in your mind and to your judgment, then act accordingly. Act like it doesn't exist. But I say the white supremacists will show you better than I can tell you.
Okay.
Because I have seen people who said that doesn't exist, and them people don't tell me what to do. I'm my own man. I'm my own woman. I go where I please, do what I want to. They know better than any of them, know better than to give me any trouble of any kind, because I can put them in their place in a minute. I say, well, if you can do that, I have nothing against that. Not only should you keep doing it, you should try to get everybody else to follow your formula, including Neely Fuller. I mean, tell me how you do that, because I haven't found any kind of way to do that. And I haven't talked to anybody who claim that they can do that. So any person that steps forward and tells me that, you know, not just stand before an audience and say, ain't no white folks nowhere on this planet tell me what to do. I mean, you know, I'm a strong black man. I'm a strong black woman. I got my own mind. I do what I want to. I go where I want to. I do what I please. Ain't no better than to say anything to me. Now, it's a lot of black people who will say that, but I haven't even heard of a black person who has proven it.
Okay. All right.
And I'd certainly like to see it.
All right.
Because whatever that formula is, whatever they've been drinking, I want some of it.
Okay. Now, here's the second question. Mr. Fuller, can you please clarify your codified response on the question of where are you from? I'm still confused. Can you please clarify that? Thank you.
The codified response when people ask me, and that's to keep them getting into a long discussion about background, even when they're checking me for background. What is your background, fella? We're checking out your background. Background how? What do you mean background? Ground is back? I mean, any ground that's at my back? What are you talking about? See, words are very important.
Yes, sir.
Get them to explain what they mean. We mean, where are you from? Oh, I'm from every place that I have ever been, and I'm from every place that I've never been. And that's my standard codified answer, and that's in the code book, too. You can use that, or should, because you'll always be telling the truth. You are from every place that you have ever been. That's everybody. You've been in your mother's womb. You are from your mother's womb. All right? If that's where you came from at one time. And even before you were in your mother's womb, you were from someplace unknown. In most cases, some people say, I know where I was before I was born. Well, I haven't run across any such person. And if anybody says that they do, I'll listen to them. But, I'd like for them to describe what it's like before you were born, okay? Where you were before you were born, what it was like, okay? I mean, what'd you do every day, if there was such a thing called a day, where you were before you were born? But I am from every place I have ever been, and I'm from every place I've never been. Now, a lot of people get confused about that second part.
Yeah.
How can you be from a place that you have never been? Because I'm from there. I've never been there, so I'm from there. From means you're not there. That's what from means. That's all from means, whether it's in the past or whether it's in the future or whether it's in the present. You are from every place that you have ever been, and you are from every place that you have never been. And you say, well, I'm from the state of New York. And then that comes down to is, what is the state of New York? Some lines on a map. But at the same time, you are from Wisconsin. You say, how can I be from Wisconsin and I ain't never been there? You are from it because you've never been there. See, I'm talking about pure logic. See, counter-racist science is about using pure logic, not the logic like you have been taught. It includes the logic that you have been taught, because all logic is logic, all right? But that's pure logic. Everybody is from every place that they have ever been, and they are from every place that they have never been. I'm from the planet Jupiter, and I've never been to the planet Jupiter, which means I'm from there. I'm a long ways from there. Okay? They say, but you've never been there to be from there. I don't have to have been there to be from there. I'm from there. I was from there before I was born. How about that? Before I was even a seed in my mother's womb, I was from Jupiter and Venus and Earth and all the stars and all of the universes. I'm from everything that ever was. I'm also from everything that ever will be. That's what you call pure science.
Mm-hmm.
But what do? You think about it, all right? But I've given you the best answer I can give.
Okay.
Because that's the truth.
All righty. Let's go to the phone lines. Line number one. Okay, line number one, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead with your question.
Good morning, Mr. Fuller and Mr. Bobby. How you doing?
Good morning, sir.
Okay, I was calling. I had just a question about the counter-racist code. If there's a counter-racist code, that means there is a racist code.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Everything that works has a code.
Okay.
That's all
Okay,
a code
so-
is, something that works. Okay?
Okay.
Now, counter-racist code is in the making. We've never had a counter-racist code. That's why I'm trying to write one, and I say everybody. See, anytime you do anything that works for you rather than against you, that's automatically code. And if it keeps working, I mean, which a code is, if it's a code, if it's a real code, every time you do it, fire will burn, water is wet. So every time fire burns, that's a fire code of the fire, all right? Because it does that, all right? Now, anything that you keep doing and it keeps working for you rather than against you should be a part of your code during your entire existence. Always works for you, never against you. Every time you do it, it works for you, never against you. And that's right down to a plate of food.
Okay, another question is, you said that there's 6 types of people. You have the racist white man, white male, white female, and you have the white male, white female, and then you have the non-white male and female. What code is the white not racist male or female? What code are they running?
Oh, the non-racist white person?
Yes. What code would they be running?
They run a non-racist code, meaning they do not dominate and mistreat people of color, all right? But, and that would include, I gave an example earlier on this program. I said, a newborn white baby, logically speaking, is not a racist. Why? Because, logically speaking, if you look at babies, I don't care what kind of baby it is, usually don't know one color from another. See, in order to qualify for a racist, you better know your colors. You cannot be a racist and you don't know one color from another. You can't, stop and think about it. How can you be a racist and you don't know the difference between a black person and a white person? Let's put it that way. You can't function as a racist. You're going to be very inefficient trying to be, when you can never figure out the difference between a person who is black and a person who is white. All right? You're going to get it, what? Confused.
Okay, we got to leave it there. TalkTimeRadio.com. We go where you go. Check us out on 94.1 WGRN. Podcasts are all available. Download the TalkTimeRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. Stay right there. More of your Gmails and more on the subject of if you do not understand.
For the best home fragrance and beauty products, shop Ash Kickin online.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Made with 100% natural quality ingredients and handcrafted with your family in mind, Ash Kickin products are better than those other guys. Ash Kickin candles, incense, body butter, face moisturizer, and hair moisturizer are priced just right, and you can get yours at 10% off with coupon code TALK17. Support this 100% black-owned business and get your home and body smelling and feeling all right.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Shop Ash Kickin online at www.ashkickin.com.
Are you ready for a high school that allows you to work at a place that is right for you? Are you ready to earn a certification in healthcare, business, or manufacturing while achieving your high school diploma? Then you are ready for Life Skills High School, a free public school option for high school students 16 to 21 years old. Learn more about your free high school educational options at lifeskillshs.org or call them at 1-800-888-7992. Life Skills High School, education that fits your life.
Robe is an intriguing, riveting, mysterious novel written on forgiveness by Renee Smith. Order your copy today at Barnes & Noble and Amazon.com. That's The Robe by Renee Smith.
Every year, June marks the beginning of two busy seasons, summer and wedding season. If you are legally changing your name, you need to apply for a replacement Social Security card reflecting your new name. This is easier to fix now when you first change your name than years from now when you retire. So go to our website at www.socialsecurity.gov/SS number or call us at 1-800-772-1213, TTY 1-800-325-0778 to find out what specific documents you need to change your name and apply for a replacement card.
If you or someone you know is abusing drugs and or alcohol and want to stop the abuse, contact APDS at 1409 East Livingston Avenue. Office hours are 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily and 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. APDS is certified by the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and primarily funded through the Adam H. Board. Fees are based on your income and Medicaid is always accepted. For more information, call 614-253-4448.
This is Al Edmondson, owner of a Cutter Brother Rest Barbershop. I'm calling on all barbers and beauticians. It's time for us to unite as one. We can serve our communities better together. Join the Ohio Black Barber Beauty Network. For more information, visit www.obbn.org or call 614-427-3226 to get more information. Be the change that you want to see in your community. Join our network.
I've got the water, energy bars, and camera. I think we're set for the hike.
Almost. We need to protect our skin. Don't forget your wide-brimmed hat and sunscreen.
All right. I've got the hat. I've got SPF 30. Will that work?
Yeah, anything 15 or higher is good. Just make sure it says broad spectrum.
Great. Got it. I am not getting burned again. Let's go.
Learn more at cdc.gov/cancer.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTimidRadio.com.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Go ahead. Make my day.
You got the power.
Alrighty, TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTainmentRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. Hey, I am Mr. Bobby, the co-host on the Compensatory Concept, which happens to be, in my opinion, the greatest show ever in radio because you get a chance to ask and have Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. address your questions truthfully as suggestions, unadulterated, pure. Anyway, it's all here on TalkTainmentRadio.com, 1-877-932-9766. Let me see here. I've been trying to get some of our sponsors in here just to say hello and a shout out. Anita Taylor, Dominic Major, EA2 Consultants, Lauren Gudo, okay, Lamar and May Brown, Christopher Miller, thank you. And then we have a bunch of reoccurring people, in particular, LaShawna King, and she has a Gmail for you, Mr. Fuller. And I'm just going to read her Gmail as she has it. Mr. Fuller, please tell us what your colleague, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, had to say about blacks referring to themselves as dogs. For example, one may say, "Thanks, dog," or "What's up, dog?" or "That's my dog. Best regards, LaShawn King." Now, I think I know what you're going to say, but Mr. Fuller, indulge me and respond to her question.
Yes, Dr. Wilson made a lot of tapes, and I'm not familiar with most of her tapes. I work with her, in many settings, but in most settings, I was not around Dr. Wilson when she was making her speeches and on her speaking tours. She made these speaking tours even when I travel sometimes on the same plane with her. She would be speaking in one place and I'd be speaking in another. So I've never really heard a lot of Dr. Wilson's speeches. Most people have talked to and asked questions of Dr. Wilson much more than I have, even though we were around each other for many decades, all right, and on the phone sometimes. But actually we didn't talk to each other most of the time as much as some people who went all the time to her seminars, to her teachings. So I can't really quote what she meant by certain things that she said. I would be misquoting her and doing her a great disservice since she's no longer here as of January 2016 when she passed suddenly and belatedly. So I always tell people that get her tapes. That's the compensatory way. And also talk to other people who can verify that she said certain things at a certain place. Because a lot of people were at almost all. I mean, she had a number of people that here in Washington that would attend every meeting that she ever had here in Washington. And she had many.
Yes.
At least once a month. And she would go for 4 hours at these presentations. 3 to 4 hours at the Blackburn Center, Washington, D.C., on the Howard University campus. She did that for many, 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 many years. So she has a lot of tapes out here and a lot of information. So that would be the best source. The best source is the person who is actually doing the talking.
Yes.
All right?
Okay.
In particular, if you can get the tapes, and she has some videotapes where she just speaks. So I've heard of this thing about the dog and all like that, as the word dog is used by black people, but I don't know enough about it to speak intelligently about what she meant and how she said it.
All righty. Hey, listen, for those of you who are listeners to this program and also of Talking Sports with Mr. Bobby, on May the 1st, we're going to have Greg Bell, former Los Angeles Ram, Green Bay Packer, and he's going to be speaking in particular about life after the game. And then on May the 15th, we'll have Trent Clark, a line dancing guru who will answer your questions and tell you some information about line dancing that I didn't even know what was going on. I'm old school, but there's a new thing out there. Anyway, all your questions that you may want to have, you can do that. That's coming up on Talking Sports with Mr. Bobby, which is an exclusive to talk to him at radio.com, radio the way it should be heard. Okay, since we've been talking about Dr. Welsing, this question comes from Anthony in Europe, England, as a matter of fact, the UK. He says, Mr. Fuller, Dr. Frances Welsing talked about the symbolism of ball games in the ISIS papers and during her many lectures at great length. But I would like to know your counter-racist thoughts on the following 4 questions. Now, I'll just read one of them right now. Mr. Fuller, why are violent sports or blood sports under the system of white supremacy are glamorized and glorified? For example, American football, rugby, boxing, and mixed martial arts. Why are they glorified?
Well, anything that I'm going to say this again, anything that the white supremacists have anything to do with when it comes to people of color is designed intentionally to strengthen the system of white supremacy. So you just examine anything that they are doing. Just look at anything that they are doing. I don't care what it is. And if you look long enough and look in detail and try to understand and have it in mind that they may be giving strength to the system of white supremacy, you most likely will find it. And as far as ball games are concerned, I looked at the game of pool, which was one of the first ball games other than baseball and stickball and that type of thing. And my progenitor, father, legitimate father, Neely Fuller Sr., he owned, along with a cafe and a hotel, a pool room. So I looked at people playing pool in the pool hall.
Okay.
And right away I noticed the white ball was the dominant ball. And there were jokes even about the 8 ball. They had a slogan called, "Don't get behind the 8 ball," because when they hit that 8 ball gets hit. And if you're behind the 8 ball, you get hit too. All right? So they had a little slogan about, hey, you don't get caught behind the 8 ball now. All right? Now, the 8 ball is the black ball.
Yeah.
Now, the way straight pool operated, I noticed the white ball, called the cue ball, that's the master ball.
Yeah.
And the pool table was green.
Yeah.
Which I began to interpret as meaning that's the earth.
Yes.
So the white ball knocks all of the colored balls, the red ones, the blue ones, the green ones, all off the table until there's one ball standing. And what is that?
The black ball.
The black ball. All right? And that's the 8 ball. And then everybody takes a deep breath and see if that cue ball can knock that 8 ball into the pocket. And boom, there goes the 8 ball. Now, the 8 ball is you never use the 8 ball as a cue ball.
Never.
Meaning you take your pool cue and get the 8 ball to hit the white ball. That don't happen. Okay? It's always the white ball against all of the colored balls.
Yes, sir.
So I say that's very symbolic of white supremacy. And then when I told Dr. Wilson that, she said, "That's profound. How did you notice that?" I said, "Well, it just came to me one day because I was thinking about racism, and while I was watching the guys play pool, that came to me." And she said, "You know what, Fuller? That probably applies to all of these ball games if you look for it."
Yeah.
And then she started studying the whole thing. She started studying golf and all of that. And she started saying, the same basic formula of the pool game. And then she went from there to chess. Okay? The original checkerboard was black and white. All right? And the black checkers and the white checkers. And Dr. Wilson pointed out, in chess, white always moves first.
Yeah.
Okay? I didn't know anything. I still don't know anything about chess. But Dr. Wilson went into that. So if you can study Dr. Wilson's work, I think she covers that in a book, the ISIS Papers.
Yeah, yeah.
She probably covers all of that. I didn't. I just came up with the one about straight pool because I never shot pool. I just watched people doing it. But that came to me.
Okay.
And I said, that's racism. I said, I don't like that. That 8 ball thing. Because they had a comic character called Little 8 Ball. He was black. All right? Back in the 1940s.
Back in the 1940s, okay.
Right.
All righty. Phone call? Okay. Line number one. Okay. Line number one, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. I just heard you all talking about sport. And here's a question. Where, all right, we look at the roughness or physicality of certain sports like football. Now, football came from a game called Hespartum, played back with the Roman Greek time. It's much more violent, was more violent way more violent. Even now they still play it, was bloodshed, fist fighting, fisticuffs, whatever you want to call it. Way more than football ever was. Now the quote-unquote white supremacists will say, hey, look how violent these black players are. They're not even addressing the fact where it came from. What's the codification aspect on that, where they will blame us for being so violent when their history is more violent than us?
Mr. Fuller?
Oh, well, the white supremacists have to be more violent than their subjects. That's how they conquered their subjects, all right? And so I'm their subject. I'm a prisoner of war. I was born in their prison because they had already captured, taken my ancestors into captivity. So I was born, my mother, my legitimate father, because, see, the white supremacists became our illegitimate parents, okay? That's why we have to run to them for everything. We're still children, because once you become a prisoner of war, you're in a childlike state. Doesn't make any difference how old you are. Black males walking around trying to say that they are men. It's impossible to be a man in the system of white supremacy if you're black. That is absolutely impossible. Give up on that. You have to eliminate the system of white supremacy in order to qualify for the beginning of manhood. Not to say anything about being a man. It can't happen. And the black female cannot be a woman, because a woman is the womb of man. That's what woman means, womb. All right? But she gives birth to boys. Black females giving birth to boys. Boys are subject to men. And that's why the black female just practically tears her hair out saying, I wish that I could find me a man, but I'm having to go to bed and have babies by boys. I mean, because we are all prisoners of war. That's why. It's not going to happen, gentlemen. I don't care how we flex our muscles and how many weights we lift while we are locked up in greater confinement, because we were born in confinement. We just get in greater confinement when we wind up in Folsom or Angola or Attica or some other place. That's greater confinement. But, we lifting weights and putting on dark shades and getting tattoos and swaggering in the middle of the sidewalk, forcing everybody to get off, trying to prove what? Our manhood. It's not going to work, because a 15-year-old white supremacist can walk up to us and say, get off the sidewalk. All right? And you say, I'm 10 times bigger than you, stronger than you, and I can take you out. See, but it ain't taking out that 15-year-old white, what you call 15-year-old white boy in the system of white supremacy, because he is the man. Why? Because he's got a whole machine called the system of white supremacy behind him. All right? It's not him as an individual. That whole machine is coming after you. And everybody that you know, and neither your homies or your mother or anybody that you call your buddies can protect you from that machine in the system of white supremacy, which is why we are having this long discussion every week about how to get rid of the system of white supremacy and replace it with a system of justice, which is what we should have had in the first place.
Yes, sir. Speaking about that, Mr. Fuller, this is the time where we speak about your book. So go ahead, take the floor.
You can go to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com. And what will come up on the screen is a brief description of the basic textbook that came out in a revised, expanded edition in 2016. There's also a word guide, a counter-racist word guide, how to use words, how not to use words, what words to ask questions about when other people use them. That's a word guide. It's basically the same book, but I couldn't get it all in one volume. I would love to have crowded it into one volume, but then the print would have been too small, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and the book would have been too thick. So I had to put it in 2 volumes. I have a compensatory codified slogan about books. I say one problem, one book. So I tried to squeeze everything that I know or perceive about the system of white supremacy in this one book, but it's in 2 volumes as it is now. But those who have the 1984 edition of the basic textbook, that's still valid. All right? A lot of people have even requested it, so I'm thinking about republishing that, reprinting that, and making that available again, too.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So some people say that's a better book, but go to Produce Justice, and you will get all the information you need for getting the book. And other information also about talktainmentradio.com, etc.
Okay.
ProduceJustice.com. That's what you go.
All righty. Brian McCarthy, Sharday Harris, Gabrielle Murphy, Cornelius Baker, Anthony McKean from Great Britain, Donna Howard, thank you. Markham Smith, thank you. Chadrick Gray, thank you. Eddie Burgess, Brian Gaston, Samuel Robinson, J.K. Towles, Tanya Potts, Carolyn Jackson, thank you for your contributions. And reoccurring sponsors, BW Gifts, thank you. LaShawna King, Eric Williams, Helen Nance, Don Mitchner, and Terrence Morgan are reoccurring people. Going to the Gmails. This is written, let's see, who is this? Okay. Brother McKeon, thank you, from England. He says this, Mr. Fuller, why do so many non-white people throughout the world, particularly black people, become some of the most notable participants, spectators, and so engrossed with these violent sports to the extent that they consume most of our time and energy?
Because the white supremacists want it that way. See, everything is divided into 2 categories. It's real simple. Constructive, non-constructive. So anything that you see black people doing anywhere on the planet, whether it's tribal warfare or whatever, if you look at it and it has a non-constructive result, which most likely it has, any kind of fighting, all right, then you say it's the white supremacists to blame. Why? Because it's happening on their watch. They dominate what non-white people, what black people do all over this planet, 24/7, without let-up, either directly or indirectly. And that includes places where people have never seen a white person.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say anything about doing a lot of discussion about them or knowing anything about white supremacy. They come under the power of the white supremacists. Why? Because the white supremacists have been everywhere. And they have, they have taken charge of everything that has anything to do with the black people, particularly, or non-white people in general, on this planet. That's what supreme means. You are supreme all the time, not some of the time. In what? In all areas of activity over the activities of people who are classified as non-white. And that's what areas of activity? Economics, which is the use of time and energy.
Yes.
Education. What do you see the non-white people doing? What can I learn? Or where do I go to learn? I want to go to school. I would like to go to school. I am illiterate. I don't know the ways of the world. I would like to go to school and learn about how to do things. I mean, on a greater scale than what I'm doing in this little village where I am, anywhere on the planet. People of color say that. And the answer is always, which way did the white people go?
Yes.
You find them, and you can get educated. If you don't find them,
yes,
you're not going to get educated.
Absolutely.
Real simple. Now, that tells you something about white supremacy right there.
Right there. Sure
How come
does.
you got to go to them to get educated? I mean, you have black people strutting around proud all day long, talking about what? My degree in this, my degree in that.
Yes.
And usually bragging to other black people about how much we know.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just ask a simple question. How do you learn what you know?
That's right. Let me get this
Who
last.
did you get it from?
Let me get this last call in. What line am I on? Line number 1? Okay. All right, caller, you're on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Go ahead, please.
Hey, how you doing, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller, Brother Muko?
Hey, Brother Muko.
Baltimore. How you doing, man?
Yes, sir.
With CCA discussions on Saturday, St. Louis Drive. My question, Mr. Fuller, I know I just called at the end of the show, but can you express for my care unit in Baltimore the importance of not being serious about silliness, or I'm sorry, being serious about silliness and not being, serious about serious things. We are serious about silliness, and that's a thing that definitely has to stop at this time that we're in a race war.
Okay, was that silliness? Did you say?
Yes, that's a quote. That's a quote.
Okay.
That's a book.
Okay.
That black people have a reputation for being real serious about everything that's silly. I mean, if it's silly, we run right to it. Even if we are tired and weary, we find the strength to run toward anything that is silly because we've been trained that way. And anything that's serious, we run from it because we don't want to be serious about anything except something that is silly. So we are silly about serious things and serious about silly things.
Wow.
All right? This is a quote that's in the textbook, by the way. So how you keep that from happening is don't participate in it by simply asking questions. See what I mean? Don't accuse anybody of being silly or anything like that. Just say, what is it that you are talking about, and is it going to have a constructive effect or a non-constructive effect? And if it's going to have a constructive effect, sir, ma'am, will you please tell me how? All right? So I will know what to expect when we finish this discussion. Is this discussion going to be constructive or non-constructive? Because there's no such thing as in between in counter-racist science. It's either constructive or non-constructive. That's the formula. So you want that understood before you even begin a conversation. Is this conversation going to be constructive or non-constructive? And if it's going to be constructive, can you tell me how, after we finish, it's going to be constructive?
You're always questioning.
Yes, that's all you have to do is just ask those questions. Don't accuse anybody of being silly or talking about something silly. Never make an accusation. Just ask questions. Ask questions, because questions and answers, if they're done in a codified manner, will always take everybody right where they should be. That's everybody. Everybody who's participating. They will always do that. That's just the logic of questions and answers when you do it in a codified manner. Just keep asking questions and getting the correct answers to those questions. By that process, that's a universal law. That applies to everybody.
Yes.
It will always take everybody where he or she needs to be. Probably not where you want to be, but where you should be. It'll always do that.
Will that keep you from being? Will that keep you from being trashy?
That keeps that keeps a conversation being a conversation rather than an argument.
Okay,
See, Black people have gotten to the place where we worship arguments.
Yeah.
A conversation and an argument. An argument is not supposed to lead to anything constructive. It just gets worse and worse. You know, it's a conversation, but it ceases to be a conversation and turns into an argument.
Okay.
But a conversation is done on the basis of questions and answers.
All righty. All right. Thank you, Brother Muko, by any means necessary. Mr. Fuller, thank you. Callers, thank you. Mr. Fuller, thank you.
Thank you.
TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio, and radio the way it should be heard. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio.
The most important question in all racial matters is why. One should always ask it.
Radio, the way it should be heard.
You got the power, the world's greatest radio, TalkTainmentRadio.com.